giving George another malaria test.
Turns out Jordan's got 2 strands of malaria.
Another doctor's given him another set of medicine to take, and if he's clear, he doesn't want to take it.
I'm finally sort of starting to feel like we can maybe leave this place.
In a single scene, this is the Congo.
Holy shit, bro. Bro, this... Oh my word, bro. This looks like an accident.
Hours later, still buzzing with adrenaline, we're approaching Mfundo, a stop we simply cannot afford to miss, but of course we do.
We found these fishermen that are paddling us all the way back to Mfundo now. It's better than walking.
This mission was started by probably the first guy to ever sort of start the whole Mekele craze, for lack of a better word. He was the first person to write about it and, you know, say, look, there's this dinosaur there, and we're excited because we now only, what are we from here, from Mfundo, we travel 50 k's to Epena, and Epena's on the border of the reserve, which is 20 kilometers away from Lake Tele. So we're excited because, I mean, all these stories we've just been hearing here from these people, you know, we get to now go and check out with people that are like living in that reserve. So it's in the homeward stretch, but it's the most important stretch, and everything is just really narrowing down to this thing: time, money, even just our own tiredness. I've been sick for 2 days here. Oh yeah, it's feeling like we're tired, but we're also psyched because this is what we've been waiting for. Okay, take 1.
Hi, my name's Jordan.
My name's Luke.
Donovan. I'm a filmmaker,
Environmental science student.
I've always wanted to go to the Congo since reading Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. You know, it sort of depicted Africa as a savage and barbaric place, and it was something very different to what I'd experienced of Africa.
I first heard about Mekele and Mbembe when I was about 10 years old. Got a very large body, neck like a diplodocus with a long tail. Most of the expeditions that have gone there haven't come back with anything solid. So yeah, it would just be the ultimate claim to find the thing.
We heard of this Don. He was sort of just gung-ho enough to do it.
it sounded wild, and these 2 dudes sounded crazy enough to pull it off. So I said, why not?
It's an amazing feeling to have finally arrived in Epena, a tiny village that we have studied on a map for nearly 20 years, imagining what it might look like and dreaming of one day making the long journey there. For us, it marks the end of the road, our entry into the Lukwala swamps, and our search for Mokele and Mbembe in earnest. The swamp is considered to have a higher biodiversity per capita than anywhere else on the planet, and is home to some of the most isolated communities in the world. From this point on, we will travel by foot or by pirogue. Our first lead directs us to Mokengi, about 3 or 4 days away, and where there are rumored to be some first-hand accounts of the dinosaur.
Some quality, some Mbembe.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. And how big is it?
It's big. It's big.
Is it dangerous? You know,
it is dangerous.
Dangerous.
We have many power.
Yeah.
Many power. All people who are looking Mbembe was die. Was die.
Oh, I see.
This generation is not capable to see Mbembe.
Merci. We're in between Epena and Mokengi, So Epena is like a sort of bigger town where we met this guy, Francis, and he told us a little bit about Mekele and just it having these mystical powers, and you know, everyone who's seen it has died. And he also said something about some people believe it's finished, but others believe that it's had 2 children, as he would call it, so 2 young that are still like kind of roaming around in this reserve. So and he also said to us, just, you know, to get closer to it and to hear more stories, you got to go to the sort of smaller outlying sort of villages. So we're making our way to one called Mukengi, and it just feels wild, and you're searching for this dinosaur, just having, you know, fun with 2 of your mates. Like it's priceless. These moments I live for.
You know Mokele Mbembe? Ah, yeah, we look Mokele Mbembe.
Crossing the massive swamp, we realize how different everything about this way of life is to ours. Paddling a pirogue is such a skill, and we can hardly even keep our balance sitting down. Feeling pretty useless, all we can do is watch as the storm rolls in and help empty the slightly leaking boat. As usual, when it rains it pours, and with little shelter on the water, we're really in for it this time. We're finally on the Likwala swamps after 93 days of travel and crossing 10 countries. It's been a real mission of a trip at times, and we'd almost run out of money completely until we managed to sell some gear in Mfundo. But it's not much, so we'll have to make it stretch as far as possible now that we're officially in Mekele Mbembe territory.
We've had a bit of a cut down in the budget, so we had to start hunting and gathering, yeah. So this is the extent of my hunting for the day. 1 squeaker, yeah, so it's a bit disappointing, but yeah, it's better than plain bread. I've never eaten a squeaker before, so I don't know what it's going to taste like. If it tastes bad, there's hardly any of it, so win-win. Protein. After all that, this is 3 hours. 3 hours fishing. And this is what I've got to show for it. And one of them's dogs. So, yeah. I'm a little bit annoyed. Oh, actually not that bad. We're just navigating the swamps now on the 2nd day of this being on this pirogue. Yeah, it's just getting so thick and jungly. We've kind of moved away from that grassy area. So yeah, it's really getting thick now. It's just like this whole jungle is just jungle is just like closing in on us. And I mean, you can just see why. I mean, there could be 50 Mekele Mbembes cruising through here, and it'd still be like trying to find a needle in a haystack. So yeah, I mean, whether people think it's died out or not, I think it's still very possible. I mean, it just adds to the whole mystery of the whole thing of it, you know, and that seems to be the case for those that believe it's died out. They still seem to believe that the spirit of it is still somewhat here. So yeah, it's still exciting either way.
Our entire trip from South Africa has taken much longer than we originally thought, and we're now well into the rainy season, meaning a lot of places are inaccessible, and the floodplains of Lake Till itself have turned into one large flooded marsh. We're traveling solely on the word of locals, going from village to village as we search to find Mekele Mbembe. basically our journey was cut 2 villages short before Mokengi. We had a place called Mokengu, which is actually our paddler's village, Darby. So he's just given us a little room in his house. I mean, you couldn't pick this place out on a map. You couldn't dream this place up. It's coming to places like this that are priceless, that it's what being a traveler is about, you know. All the people here are just so stoked to have us. They've noticed Don's filming some stuff, so everything they do, they're like, come film, you know, come back from a monkey hunt, and then there's there, or making cassava bread, whatever it is. They're just so excited to share their way of life with you. So, I mean, that tied in with the fact that just paddling along this water, like it's a lot more jungly here, so a little bit more out of the swamps, and just these walls of trees and bush, and just see it looks unnavigable in front of you, and crouching down, going under these little caves and coves of plants and stuff. So it's so beautiful. I suppose this is what traveling to far and distant places is kind of all about.
We're just sitting in this little village, Mokengu, and we've been doing some Mokele and Bembe investigating. It's very difficult with the language barrier because obviously we don't speak much Lingala and our French is terrible.
Have you seen Mokele and Bembe?
Français?
Ouais.
Yeah, petit, oui, maybe. Yeah.
Bon. Pour voir ça, c'est un peu difficile. Hein? Pour voir ça, c'est un peu difficile. Donc, il y a des moments, si il y a un marigot, si vous rentrez en haut de Mokengi là.
Maybe like this. Can you show me?
Oui.
Ah, okay. Can you do another way to put this? So for height, this way?
Oui.
Pick up.
Oui.
Ah. That's smaller. Not really working. Translation problems.
Yeah.
So we've been communicating through pictures. We kind of just drew a whole lot of different pictures which are the common, things that get lost in translation. So it's the hippo, the elephant, the rhino, and the crocodile. And then when we drew Mokele and Bembe, it was like, yeah, that's Mokele and Bembe, you know, without us having to say anything.
And this one?
Ça c'est Mokele and Bembe.
Mokele and Bembe. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Ici non.
Mokengi.
Mokengi.
Oui.
Mokele and Bembe. Mokengi.
Oui.
It's really nice to not feel like you're probing anything. It's just kind of coming naturally from them. And then another guy we spoke to, he also wanted to draw Mokele and Bembe, but his version was a bit different. It didn't have the legs. It was kind of just like almost like a very deep body eel that he said was about the size of a hippo. It makes sense that people would have had different perceptions of it, and not everyone going to have the same idea of what it looks like depending on how much of it you saw. You know, so
And the other guy he said it was really small, like smaller than a hippo. So, I mean, there really are these different versions of what it is. And the other thing that's interesting is that everyone keeps saying to us, yeah, we must go to Mokengi. So we're at Mokengu at the moment, so we're 2 villages away, and they keep on saying that Mokele and Bembe is at Mokengi.
As much as our minimal budget is creating some difficulties, the stories we're told are fuel for the journey, and it's a surreal feeling being this close to Mokele and Bembe. Back onto the pirogues to get to Mokengi. We're now a lot deeper into the jungle, and each story is different. Although we're struggling with language barriers, this is where the majority of stories are leading us. Having traveled over 3 months and nearly 10,000 kilometers to get here, we're hoping for a first-hand account of Mokele.
For people that live in these parts, you know, Mokele and Bembe is just something that's been around forever. It's like sort of just naturally written into folklores. But reports in the Western world first started surfacing about 200 years ago when the first missionaries sort of started coming to the Congo, and then obviously filtering these stories back. And stories of dinosaurs were from as low down as Zambia all the way up until Cameroon, Mali, even Gabon. But gradually over time it sort of has shrunk down to this Likwala region which we're in. Obviously with that came all the missions looking forward and stuff, and just because of the difficulty of the terrain and everything like that, I think a lot of missions failed, and just stories of like cameras just randomly stopped working, outboard motors just cutting, kind of gave this whole region, this area, sort of Bermuda Triangle feel. And I must say, when you get here, just like the prehistoric nature of the place, it's very difficult to shake that sort of airy feeling. And obviously with also the whole mysticism with the Bwaka or the Pygmy people that is, tied to Mekele and Bembe, it's just there is this whole air around the place. And when people talk about it, it's this thing that's very real in the sense of it actually existing, but also sort of the spiritual existence. And yeah, we've got to push a little bit deeper into the forest to get some stories. So yeah, I've got a little bit of a day of walking and missioning ahead of us, but it should be good.
Just trekking through the bush here in Mokenge, which is where people at the last village said there's still some Mokele and Bembes living here. And when you kind of in this bush, you can kind of just see, if there was a dinosaur living anywhere, this would be it. Like even the plants just look so prehistoric, kind of just going through these little patches of land, and then it's swamp, and then wading through these little pools. And yeah, it's quite nice just going deeper into this forest and just experiencing that. And yeah, you kind of just really feel like you've arrived. That's pretty rad.
Ils ont créé l'éléphant. Ça c'est le crocodile.
Crocodile, yeah.
C'est le crocodile.
And this one, yeah?
Là c'est les dinosaures. Mokele Mbembe.
Oh, and it's Boko.
Oh oui.
Boko or one?
Non, c'est beaucoup.
Boko.
Sans beaucoup.
Sans
beaucoup. Mo. Ça c'est N. O. N. Mokele Mbembe.
Oh, there, or many.
No.
This one.
Pour net.
Yeah.
Ils ont beaucoup. Ils sont beaucoup.
Yeah.
Dans son forêt, ce qu'il y a des
forest.
Oui.
C'est en forêt.
Sans forêt.
I see. Struggling to find a boat out of here at the moment, so it's been very difficult leaving Mokenge actually. Funny how in the Congo your plans can change in 2 minutes, but the whole sort of area around Lake Tele turns into sort of a bit of a swamp at this time of the year, so it's very difficult to navigate. And at the last village we were at Mokenge, they're telling us it's becoming very difficult to go further up, so we've actually kind of done a bit of an about turn and we're heading back down towards Ipena way. So it's definitely, it's a little bit of a turnaround, but it's also a good thing. A lot of the villagers have been telling us further down is better for stories, and so hopefully we're going to be able to cover 1 or 2 of the villages we missed on the way up.
We just arrived at this village, Matoko. We're down south again, but to be honest, I think we're more excited about change in diet. We finally got some rolls instead of eating spaghetti day after day. So.
Mokele Mbembe is taking a solid backseat for tonight. It's all about being gluttons, and then I think tomorrow we can get back to dinosaur hunting.
We've just clocked over the 3 months now on this mission, and we were thinking like, you know, for as long as we can remember, we've had this sort of need just to keep on going and trying to discover new things. And I was just saying, for me, I think it kind of started when I was about 5 years old and I got my first bicycle. And then I remember when I got a little bit older, about 13, 14, then my dad got me a boat. And then that was like the next level. I suddenly had a whole lot of different, you know, the boundaries just got bigger and I could go deeper and further into exploring my little world, you know. And I used to go sometimes for about a week or sometimes even longer and just take fishing rods and then, you know, build your house and your little shelter and try and live off the land. You sort of go out into the wilderness to try and be a man. You know, you want to feel like you can fend for yourself and catch your own food. And so that was the motivation for doing it then. And where now you kind of do that stuff, you go out and you want to do all those things because you want to feel like a kid again. And I think, you know, especially doing this, there's nothing much more childish than going out and trying to find a dinosaur in the middle of the Congo jungle. I must say, I'm so sick of this spaghetti. When we're walking through the forest, I'm literally eyeing out worms. All I can see wherever I look is meat. I see a worm, I see meat. I'm seeing a monkey, I see meat.
Leaving home almost 10,000 kilometers, 100 days, and 10 countries ago, everything was so unknown that we couldn't really even begin to imagine what we were in for. We're 2 weeks into exploring the heart of the swamp, and we're shocked at how widespread the stories actually are.
If you want to see Mokele Mbembe, it's very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
It's quite a sort of eerie, surreal feeling to being in a place where Mokele Mbembe possibly just strolled through.